Hello my lovelies, and welcome back to Colours of Nature Art. And if you're new here, thank you for stopping by, and it's lovely to see you. So today, as you can see, I'm going to review Johanna Basford's new book, Wonderful Wildflowers. And I'm going to start by just sharing my thoughts on the new book, and we'll have a look at a few of the pages. And then at the end, you'll find a full flip through with music. And if you prefer to jump straight through to that section, I'll put a timestamp in the description box below. And I also thought we could try out a few pencils and pens on the test page, just to give you an idea of what is likely to bleed through the pages. So the first thing I've got to say though is that Amazon sent me a copy that has a printing defect on it. And I don't know if this is going to come out on camera. I'll just see if I can get this to come out. I need a pokey stick. Quite useful being a junk journalist because you've got all sorts of things to hand. Don't know if you can see, but there's a sort of imprint just here where the text has just missed where it should be. And it looks to me, it's a bit like if you try stamping on something and then you go in and stamp a second time and you miss it. So either this means that I have now got a sort of a very rare copy, which of course could be worth a fortune in the future, because a lot of books that are published that have got printing defects actually, and stamps, that's another one, and coins, and they can be quite rare. So if you've also got a faulty copy, please let me know in the description box below, because I'd be quite interested to know. So enough waffle, and let's on to a independent review of the book. So we start off with the size, and it is 25 centimeters square, which is roughly 10 inches, or I suppose to be more precise, it is 9 3/4 inches. Now the paper in Johanna's book is always fantastic. I think her colouring book, she has the best quality paper really of any of them. I haven't been able to find out exactly what the weight of it is, but feeling that another paper that I use, I would say this is just a bit more than 220 GSM, or just a bit more than 80 pounds. So it's a good quality paper. So that's the first thing to say. We'll have a quick look through. At the beginning of the book, you've just got this book belongs to, and that's quite a nice quick one to colour in. And then she gives an introduction and some colouring tips there. And there's quite a mixture in this book of different pictures to do. There are quite a few of the small victory type pages. And overall it is a lovely book, as always from Johanna. But I think it would be a bit remiss of me not to mention maybe a couple of negatives for some people. And this is not a criticism of the book, absolutely not. It is merely, an observation. And I think the most noticeable thing, first off, which quite a few people won't sort of particularly like, and that is there is a lot of negative space on the pages. I don't mind doing backgrounds, but I will only want to do a limited number of backgrounds. Don't really want to do them on every page. Some things can look a bit sort of isolated, that sort of butterfly on its own. So if you don't like negative space, you might find that this is a bit, not quite what you want to do. And what was another thing? I say this with love, I really do, but some of the pictures are quite repetitive. Now, if you don't have any of other books of Johanna's, that is not a problem, because you won't have had any of these type of pictures before and you won't be repeating them. But they are sort of sometimes a bit much of a muchness. But that isn't necessarily a negative at all, because it just means if you've done something very similar before, that this time is a good opportunity to do something entirely different. Maybe have a different colour palette, try out a different background with it, different types of pen, lots of different things you can do. So you can always, a lot of times in life, turn a very negative into a positive. Some of the pages, particularly something like this, are just a bit simplistic, which is sad because Johanna is capable of wonderfully intricate, detailed pages, and I think sometimes that can be missing in this book in particular. And one thing I really miss in this book, which not everybody used to like actually, but that is the lovely double page spreads. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, because the last few books haven't had any of them, I'll show you. This is what the double page spreads used to be like, which was absolutely lovely because you could really get stuck into a picture and become absorbed by it. For instance, and this is sort of, again, it's one with flowers in it, but we've got the wall up here, which was something to colour in, a bit different. We have, of course, got all the lovely flowers, but you've also got a garden shed. You've got a view through there to colour in just a little bit of sky background. And then down here, there's a pond. So there was quite a lot sort of going on. And she used to do at least a couple of full-page spreads in her books. And sadly, she's stopped doing those, which these were my favourite sort of pages to do. But I know that they weren't everybody's cup of tea. But she's accommodating all those who like these small victories. So it would be nice if at one point, if she could include a few full-page spreads for those of us that love doing it. The nearest she came in her last book, which was the Magical Worlds one, was this. And this wasn't exactly a double page spread, but because the subject matter was all one and the same, and we got similar borders around, that I chose to sort of almost converge it and make it as if it was one. So that was the nearest I could find for myself for that. Although it does get a bit monotonous when you're just doing the same borders around everything. So back to the newest book. So there were just there's a couple of things I wanted to point out. That was just on there so I knew could find the page. A lot of the images can be a little bit repetitive and therefore just a little bit boring, because once you've coloured in, you've decided on your colours to do that. You could of course do each one different, but if you want a sort of cohesive effect in a finished picture, it's better to keep very much to the same colour palette. But after you've done that little bit, you realise you've got to do that bit, and then you've got to do that bit, and then it becomes sometimes just a bit of a chore. And it's the same thing where you've got the sort of reflective ones, where they're just a reflection of the image. So now this is one that I absolutely love. I can't help it. Those of you who've watched some of my junk journal videos will quite understand why I like this, but it's the feet. Look at those. It's like he's wearing little floral slippers. So cute. Now this one I wanted to show you because this is a lovely picture to do, this one here, because there is just so much, there's detail in it, but it also tells a story, which Johanna's images in her very early books did. And you've got the trees up here, you've got toadstools, you've got flowers, you've got leaves, there's a lot going on. You've got distance in there as well, and this you can really sort of get stuck into doing this one. So that is definitely a page I will enjoy doing. I think a lot of people will as well. Again, a lot of blank empty space in that one, and this is another, but the wallpaper ones are quite repetitive. They've always been like that, so that's not really an issue. I don't always do the wallpaper ones. Now this was another one that initially when I looked at this page I thought, yes, here again we've got these sort of, they look a bit like bluebells, don't they, I think these. But once you've done one corner you've got to do the next one, the next and the next. But then I saw over here we've got a peacock, and it's also got the same little bells there. So I am wondering whether I could do something interesting with that and try to bring the two pages together with some sort of background, but I haven't really worked out yet quite what. So my lovelies, to the back page and the colour palette test page. This actually is a very important page in the book, especially for beginners. If you don't really know how your pens and pencils are going to work and whether you're going to have any bleed through. Johanna's books are very, very good for not bleeding through to the other side. And the paper Johanna uses in these books stands up better than almost any colouring books I've done, to using quite a wide range of coloured mediums. So we will have a go and just see what happens. Let's get testing. I've got a few different things here that we can try out. Now, something that Johanna always says to do, and it's so true, always put in some sheets of paper under all your colouring pages, not just the colour palette test page obviously, but under all your pages. And there's two reasons for that. The first one is obviously if you do accidentally use a colour that you haven't tested on your test page, it happens to all of us, it at least won't, it might go through onto the picture there, but it won't go all the way through onto yet another picture. And another reason for putting this here is if you have been using one of the pencils and you've been pressing really, really hard, that can also come through and leave an imprint. It will still impact that page, but at least you won't have damaged the page beyond that. So let's try what should we try to start with? I would say that Johanna's books really do stand up to an awful lot. So I'm going to start off with, this is just an Amazon Basics and it's a fluorescent marker. We know that all the pencils will be absolutely fine on the colour pages. So I'm just going to test this. So there we are, we've got a nice scribble of fluorescent orange. Very nice for toadstools and dragons. Right, let's see what's happened. There we go. Nothing has come through, which with a lot of the, particularly the Amazon published sort of colouring books, you know, the ones that have got the black on the back, that helps bleed through a bit. But so many of these Amazon AI published type books, they just don't take colour at all. So Posca markers is another thing that I use quite a lot, and I think a lot of people do. This should be all right, but I'm just, for anybody who is new to Johanna's books, and this is a metallic Posca marker. And again, absolutely nothing. That is completely clean. So what about watercolour? I've got here, this is an Arteza watercolour pencils, which are the ones I use, but all the watercolour pencils will act very similarly. The main thing is to make sure you don't use too much water. because if you soak the page, obviously you know what's going to happen. It will just go all bubbled up and then the page won't lay flat. So let's just give this a go with a water brush, which is beautiful. I like using watercolours like this. And I have put quite a bit of water on there intentionally to make it really wet, but as you see, it spread the colour nicely. And there you go, perfect, nothing. So with that caveat that if you drench the page with water, you could get into problems, which is often where, you know, a water brush, where you fill it up with water, you're going to get less water out of a water brush than you might in a paintbrush if you forget to block your paintbrush. So talking of paint, why don't we try, I've got some Amazon Basics, just ordinary acrylic ink. Let's just put a bit of that. That's rather a lot. I didn't mean to push all that out, but it doesn't matter because that will go into a junk journal. Waste nothing. So let's just take a tiny bit of that. Maybe you don't need much. It's a bit of a strange paintbrush. I just grabbed a paintbrush. It's probably not the best one, but it will do. But again, don't put too much water because that obviously is going to warp the page as well. Pop that in there. And again, fine. You see that drop of water? I don't know if this is showing up in the camera, but just that little drop of water I had there, it's already making an indent just there. That probably isn't going to show up in the camera. So what else have I got in my books? Well, I've got a standard glitter pen, just an ordinary glitter pen. I think this came from The Works in the UK, which is a bit like the dollar store or the pound shop. Well, that's a nice pen. I haven't used this one for ages. Well, I rather like that. In glittery pink. So how does glittery pink cheap gel pen do? Now that is still where that splodge of water went. That's that. So that, no, again, no pink, no nothing has come through on that one. And this is a Pentel. This is a posh glittery gel pen. So let's see how that does, because this is much more juicy than the cheapo one. And of course, as it is more juicy, there's more ink to come out. So how does it stand up to that? Again, no green, no nothing has shown through. So now I've got an outline marker, not an online marker. It's late in the day and I'm having a senior moment, so please bear with me. Thank you. Right, let's try this. Normally that is used sort of as an outline marker, and then you've got two lines. See what that does. Now look, that has bled through, and there's even a tiny little speck on there. This is why we test pages and the inks, for that reason, because if you had just gone ahead with this, scribbled away, done your colouring, you'd have turned over and whatever was on that page would have been ruined. So for anybody who is new to colouring, this is why we test the pages. So if you're unsure and it's something you haven't used before, as I say, Johanna's books are the safest for all these different things, but even that, it couldn't do that. I'm not surprised, but that's why I put it in, so that you could see what can happen and how well her books stand up to everything else. move the book back to the beginning. So that was my honest review of Wonderful Wildflowers, and I've always loved Johanna's work. And even though this one just feels a little different to me, it's still absolutely beautifully made, beautifully put together, and it is full of her signature inky wonderfulness. And if you've got the book already, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, the sort of pages you enjoy filling in, and any thoughts about her latest book. And if you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by. I'm only a tiny channel, but I really appreciate every single like and subscribe, and it genuinely does make my day, when someone new joins in. And if you could give me a thumbs up, I'd be really pleased if you've enjoyed this flip through, because I'm only, as I say, a very tiny channel, and YouTube doesn't really know I'm here, so it can't recommend me to other people. And the algorithm goes by how many likes you get on something, and then more people get to find the videos. Anyway, that's enough of me waffling on. So let's finish with a peaceful flip through. So sit back, relax and enjoy. And at the end, there will be my first completed picture in Wonderful Wildflowers. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.